Okay, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Wildwood Celebration Commission meeting for Wednesday, August 3rd. We'll do our first, just a couple of opening remarks here. So like to have an opportunity to welcome our new member here of the commission, Deb Coleman here. And, what we could do is we'll give you a couple of minutes maybe to just, a minute to share a little bit about yourself, what ward you're in, and
Okay.
yeah, and just a friendly reminder. Yes, we use the microphones, push the button,
There we go.
and then when
I'm
you're
on?
finished speaking, you can hit the button to turn it off, because that way the live stream will capture you and then people watching can hear you.
Okay. Well, my name is Deborah Coleman, but most of my friends call me Deb, so I'll go by either. I've been in Wildwood since '92, long time, and I am old enough to be here for that long. I just did the Board of Adjustment for 3 years, so I'm familiar with Mr. Vunich. I'm from Ward 6, which is way out there, but it's very nice out there. I like all the trees and nature. And my husband and I have a home out there. What else can I tell you? I used to be a teacher. I was an elementary school phys ed teacher, so I really like fun and games. What else can I tell you? I have 2 grown daughters that they're on their own. They have their own homes, so my nest is empty, other than a dog and a cat, which I take to the park a lot. What else can I tell you? I'm a member of the Endangered Wolf Center. I'm very into endangered species and wildlife. So I'm also in the Missouri Master Naturalists. So I'm also into plants and flowers and stuff like that. And I guess that's about everything I think of, but I mean, I'm open if anybody has questions for me.
Sure. Well, welcome, Deb, and to allow you to know everyone and their name and maybe where they're from, which ward. Why don't we just start just around the room here, so we can start with Charlie.
Charlie Steeper. Wife and I built a home here. We built a home right after. I'm a native. My wife is from New York City. I haven't been on any mission. Somewhat. And
I'm Holly Barrett, and I've been here about 15 years, and I was on city council a long time ago.
Okay.
So I'm involved in the community. I'm a realtor part-time and I have a full-time job planning.
Okay.
And I live in Fort.
Nice to meet you both.
Well, we'll start with down on the end over here.
What I know about me, I'm an open book. My name's Vicki Helfrey, and I've been in Wildwood. My husband and I've been here for 25 years. We have 3 kids. And what else do I know? I liked everything you said. I thought, wow, what a neat person. So that was awesome.
And you're in Ward 2.
Right. I'm in Ward 8. You're like Ward 2.
All right. Thank you.
I'm Sharon Hudson. I'm also a realtor. My husband has been more involved in cities and we've lived here before they incorporated. I've been on a couple of committees and live in Ward 5. Celebrate. Great.
And I'm Joe Garitano. So as I mentioned, city council member for Ward 8 here, which is in the town center area. And yeah, I've been doing this with the commission here for, I think, about 2 years, but about 7 to 8 years on the council. and also get to serve as the mayor pro tem for the city.
Oh, I think. Pretty cool.
Well, all right. So then, welcome again to our new member here of the commission. So we'll get started with the official roll call of the members, Kristen.
Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Helfrey. Commissioner Jailing. Commissioner Hudson. Commissioner Tripp. Commissioner Coleman. Commissioner Ferris. Commissioner Siebert. Council Liaison Garitano.
Here.
And I am also here as well. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the July 6th, 2022 meeting. If I could get a motion and the second for approval. So made by Commissioner Hudson. Is there a second by Commissioner Ferris? Any questions on the minutes from the meeting? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Anyone oppose or abstain? Minutes are approved. All right, now we'll move into public comment. So we'll check to see if we have anyone, none present in the room, none online. So therefore, we'll move forward and close out public comment. We'll move into the main part of our agenda here, which is the 2022 Celebrate Wildwood event. So the first item on the agenda is the venue layout update for the event. Mr. Vunich.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Chair, with your permission, I'd just like to give an explanation to Ms. Coleman. On the Wildwood Celebration Commission, the Superintendent of Parks and Recreation, which is a city employee, is a member. So Kristen is a member of the commission, but given our staffing, she's also doing the minutes for me, so she'll not be sitting up at the dais with you. And we welcome her to her new position and as a member of the commission. And just a couple of other faces in the crowd, Sergeant Jacquin and Officer DeGelder. There are county police representatives. Officer DeGelder is the neighborhood policing officer and probably the person you'll see the most of on a day-to-day basis. And Sergeant Jacquin is a new addition. He became in charge of the MPOs when Sergeant Windling retired last fall. So thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and members of the commission, the first item tonight is just an update on the venue location. And as you know, at our last meeting, I had very good news for all of you that we were changing the venue location late in the game, but we were changing it to what I believe is a better location, which is the location where we've held the event for the last 2 years down by the theater. Tonight, Kristen and I have prepared for your consideration the layout, and this layout should look very familiar. It's the one we used last year in 2021, worked really well. And so tonight we're just presenting it to you, and we really don't have any changes from 2021. We're anticipating the same number of tents due to the vendors, authors, organizations, businesses, etc. And the field lends itself well to all of the things we've identified on it. So from that perspective, we just wanted to give you this information. If you have any concerns or if you saw something that didn't work last year with the layout, this would be a great time to let us know. And if you think about it over, sleep on it tonight, think about it tomorrow, and something comes to you, please don't hesitate to give us a call or send us an email. We want to get the layout right before we get it on a map and start handing it out. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vunich. So with that, as Mr. Vunich said, this should be familiar to you from last year's event, but I'll check to see if there is any question, or if not, as you heard from Mr. Vunich, you can always follow up line if you have a question or wish to provide feedback. Let me check to see. Does anyone have any question? Or anyone? Okay, looks like, again, this is a familiar layout here, so thank you for providing this update with the new change in the venue, Joe. Okay, next on the agenda is B, promotion and advertising of the 2022 event. So the first part is going to be about the geocaching and the scavenger hunt details.
Again, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and members of the commission, several months ago, when we were still laboring with the concept of having the venue out in front of City Hall and over on a portion of the village green. We wanted to kind of draw interest or let people know the venue had changed in the last couple of years. And so ideas were put forth to have a scavenger hunt. And as part of the scavenger hunt, identify Celebrate Wildwood, the event, and then the new location, and make sure people understood that. The same would hold true for the geocaching. Tonight, we are presenting the details, not all of the details, but the details on the scavenger hunt. And with the assistance of Stacy Chansky and Chris, we've been able to kind of come up with the concept. We have some really nice medallions that are carryovers from a couple of our frozen feet half marathons. We give out a finisher medal. We usually get about 300, which is the maximum amount of runners will accept at the race. And we always have some left over. They'll be perfect for what we want to do. And we're going to get an attachment that has the Wildwood Celebration logo that'll go over it. We're going to create the clues. The clues will be, as I've described, they'll give a latitude and longitude. So if all else fails, they'll be able to find it because they can drop a pin or whatever is necessary on their smartphone and find that. But then the clue, once they get in the general vicinity, will be what they have to figure out and then find. And in this case, like I say, my place is always a crossing and associated with water. And so I was thinking of Community Park and the pedestrian bridge down on the north end, where the trail you often walk. So we're going to come up with a list of those clues. We'll send them to you in advance of the September meeting because we actually would like to get started with this probably a little earlier than September. So we'll ask you to kind of be our guinea pig, so to speak, when we get all the clues together and see if any of them are too problematic or too simple. And so we're pretty excited about this. We think this is going to be fun. And one of the things that came out of the discussion internally is that as part of the scavenger hunt, if you bring back a medallion, you get a free gift at the city tent the day of the event. And as you know, we have often a lot of surplus Wildwood wear and things along those lines, bags and hats and things to wear. So we thought we'd have that there. And when people return and redeem their medallion, we give them a piece of Wildwood wear or something akin to that. And certainly we think that'll draw attendance as well, because scavenger hunts traditionally in Wildwood, and we did a number of them during COVID-19, are family events. And it seems like we get a lot of the caregivers, moms and dads, et cetera, with the kids doing it. So we think we can add some attendance to the event as well. I'll stop there and ask if there's any questions on the scavenger hunt.
Any questions for Joe? Vicky, I see you get your hand up.
So my guess is that these will not all be just in town center. They'll be all over Wildwood, correct? Okay. And then in here it says 4 to 6 weeks beforehand, and it says hopefully 10 per week. So are we looking at total of about 60 medallions?
If we do 4 weeks, we'll be at 40. If we do 6 weeks, we'll be at 60.
Okay. So can would there be repeat locations? Like maybe week 1 might have the same location as week 4, something like that?
It is not the intent of the department, at least the director of the department, to have repeat locations.
Okay.
I think between the 14 square miles of state, county, and city parks, and plus our trail corridors,
Right.
and then just pockets of public space, like behind me or up on Plaza Drive, we have the public plaza, which is just 10,000 square feet in size. But as Ms. Ferris knows from our holiday events, that's public property. And so we may use that as well. And we've got other little parcels of ground like that.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. So yay. Okay.
Any other questions for Joe? All right, thanks, Joe. Next on the agenda is the
The
topic of social media.
the
Wait, go ahead, Joe. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
finish that.
I stopped because I wanted to make sure if I gave you a lot of information in a short period of time. In terms of the geocaching, which is another popular activity in Wildwood, and there's geocaches all over Wildwood, some in public parks, including the city of Wildwood. We are asking that, given that we're back at our original venue for this year, and that we're doing the scavenger hunt plus all of the other advertising that will be available. We were asking that the geocaching be, we would not be required to do it this year. What we're finding is that with our staffing, we think the scavenger hunt will probably take us to the limit, and geocaching might be just one step too far. So tonight, the department is respectfully requesting of the chair and the commission members a motion to approve the scavenger hunt as proposed and to forego the geocaching for 2022.
Did we have the scavenger hunt last year?
We did not,
Okay.
but we have in the past. So I think that's what you're remembering. We've done scavenger hunts. We actually have done them the day of the event around the event ground.
All right, with Joe's request, anyone like to make a motion, as he stated, to, I guess, Joe, with the wording, proceed with the scavenger hunt and but postpone geocaching for this year? How would? I think
That's
that would be-
exactly it, Mr. Chair. Hit the
Okay.
nail on the head.
All right, Vicky, I think your hand was up to make the motion. So is there a second, by Charlie? So any other questions on the motion that we've got? Otherwise, all those in favor of the motion, say aye. Anyone oppose or abstain? Motion passes.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Okay. All right, now we can move to social media analytics.
Again, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I promise you, eventually Kristen will be standing at the microphone as, if not as much as me, maybe a little bit more here in the future. So please, you'll have to listen to me drone on tonight, but we're kind of transitioning. So thank you for your patience. At our last meeting in July, the members of the commission again wanted to talk about just the social media component, our website, our e-newsletter, and the other things that we're doing to advertise this event. One of the requests of the commission members was to again see the analytics that we developed over the course of the last year or so relative to all of those platforms. And then just some of the activities, events that we basically have used those platforms to advertise or promote, and just how effective that's been. And so again, as you can see, it has several tables that give you information on followers, the reach of a particular post per platform, and how much we've spent on boosted posts or targeted posts to certain groups that we know might benefit from seeing that information on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And then this was prepared by Mr. Newberry. He did go through just some information again about our targeted social media that Silver Tablet Marketing will be doing for us here. Probably in the next few weeks, it'll kick off. And we had great success with that company when we did the date night on a Friday evening of one of our Celebrate Wildwood events. And there was just a great success, and we had a lot of positive feedback. So that's information that's available for you to review. We're confident that between the special pullout section in the West News magazine, the city's website, the city's social media platforms, the e-newsletter, and then what we've already done in terms of just placing posters around our municipal parks and all of the pavilion areas or kiosks that are available in the businesses that have bulletin boards like Deerbergs and Schnucks, that we're doing a pretty effective job of getting the word out from that perspective. Also tonight in the back of the room, we have the yard signs. We brought those down for you. And then Kristen has the posters and postcards, if you'd like to take some of those to hand out to your friends, family, neighbors, and others. And then, as we've talked before, we're also going to have a presence out on some of our roadways with our electronic message boards and some other things we're thinking about in terms of a banner or two. I've noticed on a lot of the interstates of late that Missouri Department of Transportation has been very easy on things being posted on the pedestrian walkways across and even the bridges. So I think for one day, if there's no objection, we may try that just to make sure that people know when they're coming either east on Route 100 or west on Route 100. That boy, they're right in the heart of it and just turn on in and have a good day at Celebrate Wildwood. So, Mr. Chair, if there's any questions, I'll be hard pressed to answer them because this isn't my forte, but I can certainly write them down and have Mr. Newberry send you an email response to each of them.
All right. Thanks, Joe, and thank you to Mr. Newberry for putting together the information. So are there any questions regarding this? Holly, you got a question?
Joe, do you guys still have a list of all the trustees in the subdivisions?
We have a list on our website. I would say that it's not complete because some of the subdivisions don't contact us and occasionally we don't get updates. But I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, so my thought is, because I'm actually a trustee at Nantucket, that I would take one of those posters and put it in our clubhouse. So you have to walk through the clubhouse to get to the pool, and at least it's line of sight. But I thought that might be a good place, good way to also reach the community is to at least get in touch with the trustees of the subdivisions, maybe have a pool or a clubhouse or something like that, where it can get a little notification now, because the pools will be closing here pretty soon too.
Well, that's an excellent suggestion, if I may, Chair, with your permission. And what we'll do is some of them have email addresses, and
Mhm.
maybe we can just send them a digital version and say, even if you just have your newsletter that goes out before September 24th, could you include some information? And then Ms. Helfrey,
That's true.
I think, twisted some arms at St. Alban Road Church to get it in the bulletin. So even that may be an option.
Mhm, mhm.
So thank you. That's a great suggestion.
All right. Any other questions for Joe? Well, I think everyone has heard to pick up a couple of signs here or cards, and again, anywhere that you think would be helpful to posting it, whether if you have a clubhouse or, a church or anywhere, I think that would be a business. Yep, that would make sense. So, yeah, and I know in the past, we've had a couple of members who have been really focused on going around and putting up signs. I know Mrs. Siebert did a lot of that work in the past. And Charlie as well. Maybe he has all the, so we probably want to make sure we don't lose those spots. So
Good spot.
good. See, it's a good thing we've got Charlie here. Well, yeah, I think that's great there. And Joe, I know there was a question from the mayor about how soon were we going to start putting stuff like that on the website and in the social media, on social media. So it looks like according to this, that should be coming up. Huh?
The program by Silver Tablet Marketing is scheduled for basically about a week and a half from now to kick off.
Yeah.
Roughly the middle part of August, as I recall.
Okay,
Stacy Chansky, who was promoted to our recreation specialist, and Travis both will be back in the office next week. So we're going to kind of have a powwow and just kind of go through, okay, we need to start getting things. Now we have some on the website already. And Kristen pulled together the group informally and said, I need some help getting more out there. So if the mayor would ask again, Mr. Chair, I would say probably next week will be our effort to get the content ready. And then we'll probably kick it off, I would say the week of maybe August 15th.
Yeah.
And then be a full, maybe 6 weeks out from the event.
sounds great. All right, thank you, Joe.
Oh, and one last thing, we are ordering the banners from the business sponsors, so we hope to have those as quick as possible. Get Mr. Glenn Daly to install them, so hopefully you'll see those in the next few weeks as well.
Thank you. All right, now moving on to the parade items. So the first item is the parade grand marshal selection. So Mr. Bunich.
Mr. Chair, we didn't rehearse this before, but maybe this is something you'd like to handle tonight.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
Well, you've seen the emails, of the suggestions here, and I appreciate the feedback received regarding potential grand marshals for the parade. So let me start with one of the recommendations were for Virgil and Jim Schmidt. They're both longtime residents and their families here in Wildwood. In fact, Jim Schmidt had told me that his grandfather lived right here in this location where City Hall is. So they've been around for quite some time. The family here, way before even Wildwood was incorporated. We're going back to 1900. And so the Schmidts have been part of the community. For some of us who've been around here at City Hall, both Jim and Virgil were regular attendees of almost every council meeting, sitting right there, back there, the two seats. So, of course, sometimes illness and caring for others has gotten in the way, but they still watch the meetings. I wouldn't be surprised if Virgil's watching this one right now. He watches them all, but they still are a part of the community here. And this, I think, would be a nice way to honor, and it ties in what we've heard back, like Mr. Siebert said, trying to find somebody who's got deep roots here in the community, people that have been here for some time. They also have a background, both served in the military. So these were two nominations that I'd like for you to consider. And, if everyone agrees, we can do a vote for these two as well. The other item I mentioned with Mr. Vunich is we don't have to stop at two. And so I know there were some other good ideas and, looking at maybe even someone that would appeal to a younger audience as well. So Sergeant Jackman had mentioned a while back that we had two high school athletes that received quite a bit of recognition. Maybe you can explain it. I'll defer to you. You could share a little bit about them. But, that might be something that the committee wants to consider is we can have the two gentlemen, the Schmidt, and then also invite these two athletes who have received quite a bit of recognition. You want to share? And they're both in Lafayette, right?
One of my SROs who works for me is at Lafayette High School. Throughout the year, I check on their athletic events, see how they're doing, football, gymnastics, stuff like that. So he had mentioned, I just kind of followed the news anyway, but Lafayette had a male and a female wrestler both win state championship this past year, which doesn't happen every year. You imagine they're pretty rare with that. Wrestling is divided by weight classification, so there's only one for 7 or 8 weight classes. So they're both going away to college. I'm not sure if it's going to work out or if something the commission would think about, but wrestling is a winter sport, and this isn't quite at the winter place yet. The male wrestler's going to Mizzou, which is only about 2 hours away, and the female wrestler's going up to, they don't have a lot of wrestling programs. She's going up to Indiana, Wesleyan, which is about 5 hours away. But I know both the families are integrated in the Wildwood community, and I think it'd be a good outreach, through the athletic department, coaches, the email blast that the principal could send out if they can make it back, or even if one of them can make it back. And it kind of reaches a younger generation. I want to go out and see my friends, the people look up to the state champions and say, I want to go watch them in the parade. So it's one of those things where I'm not even sure if it could work out, but how rare is it that you would have 2 state wrestling champions from the same school in the same town? That's got to be a lot of pride in that.
Thank you so much for sharing about that. So unless there's any other thoughts here, what I would like to suggest is we have a motion for extending, I guess, the invitation for these people that we talked about here, Jim, Virgil, Schmidt, and then we'll have to get the names of the 2 wrestlers. And then, if they're, all accept, I've spoken with Jim and Virgil, they're very honored about the consideration. Look forward to, they're looking forward to it as well. Virgil, just so you know, he is going a little bit in and out of the hospital, but we're very hopeful that, he can make it. And I think, again, what a great way to honor somebody who's got deep roots to the community. So that's what I can suggest here unless anyone has any other thoughts or any other ideas. Vicky?
Well, first of all, I would like to vote that we nominate both the Schmidt brothers
Okay.
and the two kids, because I think that's fantastic, especially today when we, in the public, it's the bad stuff is always highlighted. And so those are wonderful things to highlight, especially for Wildwood. One of the other things I wanted to bring up was I had spoken to Joe about this a while ago, and that was, it's not necessarily a grand marshal, but I wonder if there's a way that we can honor people that are no longer living, but have contributed so much to Wildwood. For example, Mr. Boat was here forever and contributed so very much. I don't know if you can have an honorary. I don't know. I just wanted to kind of throw that out there because we do have so many people that have been here forever that have done so very much. And then I also have a question. Do we need to vote on the criteria? Because I like that as well. So my
Thanks.
motion is yes to nominate all those people and then follow up with all the questions.
Sure. Well, I think that's and I spoke with Mr. Vunich about it before. I love the idea, and I think that even for the kind of service that Mr. Boak gave, especially as a council member, we may even want to do something that's even, there might be something that we can do to honor him at the city with something that would be a lasting remembrance. That would be something that we could do. There's sometimes you have cities and, they'll have, the so-and-so Memorial Bridge or the pavilion at a park. And I think it's something that would be good to give that name to someone like that. So I'd like to see if that's something that we can do, as a city. I think that's a great way to honor his memory. And yes, I, miss him because he was someone who really brought stability.
And Ray Manton was
Yeah.
another one, that was.
So there might be something we want to look at more from an elected official
Right.
perspective. So I would say maybe we kind of look at a different way to kind of look at the elected officials and
Sure.
maybe try to focus on the citizens
Good.
for the marshals, if that works out.
Mr. Chair, with your permission, what I was thinking is we could have this as an agenda item in October. Maybe talk about that and the commission could endorse some type of program and send it on to the city council.
Yeah, I think there is some nice way. I mean, I would like to, we have some really good treasured areas here that, sometimes maybe it's worth naming after someone. So any other thoughts? And again, nothing says in stone that we have to have 4. If you think there's to be a 5th, that's fine too. I just want to make sure we're thinking of all the potential folks. And again, thank you for bringing up to the reminder about maybe some of our guiding principles that we can use going forward for that. So if there aren't any objections, I would say too, that would be something that we can vote to say we, adopt. What do you think? Anything else? Sound good, Charlie? Well, do we have a first? Oh, Vicky. Okay, so let's make sure Kristen's got the motion. The motion is what for Jim, Virgil Schmidt, and then the 2 student athletes from Lafayette High School, which we'll want to get the details on that. We can do that. All right, and then so we'll do that part first. So any other questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed or abstain? All right, that motion passes. And then I guess the other motion is for us to adopt, let me see what I called it, were they like the guiding principles or guidelines? Oh, yeah, okay, there it is. That's from July 19th, 149. So the 5 points here that we could use to adopt, which would be nominees should be either current or long-term past resident of Wildwood, be selected based on contributions to the good of the city through civic, business, military, historic, social, volunteerism, humanitarian sport, or personal achievement, or based on a distinction that he or she has brought to Wildwood resulting from their achievements elsewhere. Nominee is someone of good character that is well respected. Nominee must be willing to act as a grand marshal, and nominee must be willing to attend and able to attend the parade. So, all right, with that, then we'll take a motion on adopting those guidelines. Anyone like to make it? Made by
That we adopt those.
Commissioner Hudson, and then a second on that. Vicky, you got the second on that? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone oppose or abstain? All right, that passes. So now we'll move on to the parade location and other considerations.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and members of the commission, just an update on the parade start location. The department has been in conversation with a representative from Desco Group. Desco Group has sent over the required agreement. We have provided them the indemnification and insurance certificate. The agreement needs a couple of modifications per our city attorney. Those will be forwarded to that gentleman from Desco Group tomorrow. So it all looks like it's in place, that we'll be back to where we started at Schnucks Wildwood Crossing. Also, just as another item, Pat McDermott, who's a captain over at the Metro West Fire Protection District and heavily involved in the Rotary here out in West County, has volunteered for some of the Rotary members to help us with the parade. So we're going to schedule a meeting with Mr. McDermott and some others to talk about that. So we'll have some extra help at the parade this year that we kind of lacked in 2021. So that's an exciting bit of news for the commission as well. Kristen did confirm that we have the golf carts. And we just wanted to make sure, because again, as you know, we scrambled a little bit to find them due to other events going on at the same time that weekend. And we do have them. So that's a key component of the parade, and certainly would be a disappointment for a lot of people if we didn't have them. So they're there. And we have confirmed.
I'll just convey, because it has come up in council meetings, there is a lot of excitement by the mayor and the council about the golf cart. They're already challenging each other about who's going to decorate best. But I have told them, we got to make sure they don't hold up the parade when they're driving.
In the back.
And just one more thing about the golf carts, we get them usually early on Friday so that people have at least a day plus to do their decorations. Each of you will share a golf cart. So if there's 8 of you, there'll be 4 golf carts set aside. I don't know how you'll pair up. I'll let you all figure that out. But yes, you'll have a golf cart for 2 of you to participate in the parade. So things are moving along pretty well. And while I'm there, I'll just give you a highlight relative to the parade. As we get into the updates, we already have 23 participants registered, and that doesn't include city council, the HPC, and some of the police items that we hope that will be available. So we're doing extremely well so early in the event. Again, remember, we're roughly 2 months out. So that's pretty exciting as well. So if there's any questions about the parade or any of the items associated with it.
Go ahead, Vicki.
Were you able to get a hold of the Moolah Shriner guys that drive the little cars? Yes. Okay.
Oh,
They don't,
sorry.
they don't want to be behind the council people either.
We have the mounted Lancers and we also have the mini cars. Yes, those are scheduled.
We were just, it's a stop, and those poor little guys, you don't have those cool little cars. They want to be, couldn't go very far.
We'll take care in where we put people this time. I do want to mention, we have contacted, as I recall, Metro West. They usually have the honor guard, and they'll bring the large ladder truck so they can place the ladder and then display the flag over the end of the parade route. So we'll have them there. And then also we hope they bring their that safety house. That's a trailer. That's always a lot of fun for the kids.
Joe, one item I noticed, I know marching bands are tied up that day with a contest of champions at Lafayette. Do we have, what kind of musical component do we have on the parade line?
Well, Officer together contacted headquarters and we're on the list for the bagpipers.
All right,
And we're probably going to reach out to Contemporary Productions and see if we can maybe get kind of a marching band from some local musicians or something akin to that.
What about the middle school? I know they have, don't they have bands or music,
get music program.
middle school would have.
In the past, we've reached out to middle schools. We haven't been too successful getting them to commit, but we'll try again. Obviously, we have several in Wildwood Middle School, Rockwood Valley, and LaSalle Springs, just to mention those three. So we'll maybe see, but if push comes to shove, we'll try to basically generate our own marching band, so to speak. And that's what we did last year. We had Contemporary sent some
Yeah.
brass, and they were good. They were a lot of fun. They were small in number, but mighty in sound.
They were good, yeah. Vicky? Oh. All right, well, that is great there, Joe. So thank you for that update there. Anything else that you want to cover?
Well, just real quickly, and this is I think the last item on the agenda, the update of the status sheet. Just so you're aware, we have 14 sponsors now. A couple of those are in kind, like West News Magazine, because they charge us half of their normal going rate for that special pullout section. But we have 14 sponsors. The total is
We are now up to 19 sponsors
19.
since this was done. A couple of them we have not received the checks yet. So we're at 13,700.
So we're doing very well sponsorship wise. And we appreciate all the businesses and others that have been willing to participate in that way, including Ms. Hudson. Thank you again. Relative to the parade, I've mentioned that we already have 23 registrants. I think the big news on the food and drink is Union Baptist Church has registered. So we'll have fried catfish again in 2022. Couple of local restaurants aren't shown on the list, so I just want to explain that. At our last concert, Fat Pocket, I bumped into Rob Knoll, the owner of Benedetto's on Main. And they never register, but we always put up a tent and they always come out and they serve drinks and food out there. And he said, oh yeah, we'll be there. So we have that. So it'll be right on the main street, but Benedetto's will participate. And we've reached out to Milk and Honey because we also interrupt their traffic. But Jackie at Milk and Honey, when I was there last year about midday, I couldn't even barely fit in the place. So they do well. So we've invited her. If she needs a tent, we'll be glad to give her a tent. The others, it's unfortunately a story we hear a lot about now. They barely have the staffing to keep the brick and mortar building open, more or less have two crews at two different locations. But we've contacted them and we certainly have made every overture to have them participate. And we'll continue to do that. Make sure we, pardon? Places like Big Chief Roadhouse, Craft, along those lines, the restaurants that we have in town, Wildwood Pub and Grill. So it's just a tough time right now for restaurants.
Yeah.
Joe, what about the tamale guy, the food truck guy? I didn't see him on there and he's usually here, isn't he?
Yes, he has been in the past, and that's usually we work through Natalie McAvoy, our farmer market manager, and I'll follow up with her. That's a good point. I think I may have forgot to do
Because
that.
tamales and catfish are the way to go on that day. I'm just throwing it out there.
I won't ask about the next day, but certainly. Just a couple more numbers. We're up to about 50 booths. That includes authors, organizations, and some of our business sponsors. The number's a little lower than what I would like at this time, 2 months out. But if the trend follows, we'll get probably 20% or 25% more the week of the event. That's when we really got plumped last year and we ended up scrambling to get everybody in. So we're going to send out something here in the next week or so, just to all of the past participants, just reminding them there's still time to register if they'd like. And that's really just the highlights of the status sheet. But if there's any questions about the specifics, Kristen and I'd be glad to try and answer them.
Vicky?
Were you able to get the Boy Scouts? I see that you say scouting experience is underway. Was Ken able to?
Our city administrator, Steve Cross, his neighbor, is very involved in the Boy Scouts, and Steve is talking with him, and he's working to see if we can get some of the troops here and some of the activities that they brought.
Okay,
So it is underway. I don't know quite where we're at. Hopefully by September, I'll have a much better update for you.
so we are planning for that to go forth as it has in the past.
Yes,
Okay,
and on the map, we still show the scouting experience area in the field closest to Taylor Road.
okay, thank you.
All right. I don't see no other questions here. Oh, one more item, Joe?
Kristen just reminded me of something. I want to let her tell you about it.
So we received an email from a resident. Her name is Julie Lynch, and I think you know her, Mr. Garitano. And she has offered her services to sing the national anthem.
I think that would be great. Yeah, Miss Lynch is a resident in Ward 8 right here. But she's a singer at some of the restaurants. I know I think of the one down Manchester Road. She's a regular there, but she's got an incredible voice. So that is amazing. Be great to have that as part of our program.
And we finished the contract for the bistro lighting over Main Street today. Mr. Cross will be able to sign that hopefully. And so we're going to have a very different look this year than any other year previously.
It's going to be nice. I think we have festive look, especially in the evening, provide that lighting. That. All right. Well, that's it there. So I think we can go, we've gone through everything here. Next meeting on Wednesday, September 7th. And other than that, I guess adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? Vicky, second by Charlie. All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, the meeting's adjourned. That's it. And it's 6:50, so not bad. Oh, yeah, you're part of it too, yeah. You'll be in a cart, you'll share a cart with the commission members.